A little black girl sleeps on a playground every night. An arrogant millionaire discovers why and starts to cry. The moonlight revealed a small silhouette huddled on the playground slide. Sophia, only 8 years old, adjusted her worn coat as if it were a blanket, while clutching a worn backpack that contained everything she owned in the world. It was the third night in a row that she had slept there, at the mercy of the cold October wind that blew mercilessly through Oakwood Park. "Hey girl. This isn't a hotel." The deep voice cut through the night silence, causing Sophia to sit up with a start. A tall man in an impeccable suit approached, accompanied by a German shepherd with a shiny coat. The dog's collar probably cost more than all the clothes Sophia owned. "Sorry, sir. I'm leaving now," she replied with surprising composure for someone so young, quickly gathering her things. Alexander Reed, 45, CEO of Reed Enterprises and owner of half the luxury real estate in town, frowned. His evening walks with Maximus, his dog, were his only moment of peace away from cell phones, meetings, and constant adulation. Finding a child sleeping in his park was not part of his plans. "Where are your parents?" Alexander asked, watching the girl's eyes, intelligent and cautious. There was no fear in them, just a resignation that seemed terribly out of place on such a young face. "My mom will be back soon," Sophia replied automatically, a text she had memorized. She said to wait here. When did she leave? The hesitation was brief. 4 days ago. Alexander felt something strange inside his chest. A child. Alone. In the cold. 4 days. He moved closer, noticing now the details that the darkness had initially concealed: her carefully braided but disheveled curly hair, her clean but clearly too small clothes, and a recent scar above her right eyebrow. Against all logic, Maximus, who normally growled at strangers, approached the girl and gently licked her hand. Sophia smiled for the first time, a smile that completely transformed her tired face. "What's your name?" Alexander asked, his voice less stern now. "Sophia. Sophia Jackson." "When was the last time you ate, Sophia?" She shrugged, a gesture far too adult for her age. "Yesterday, I think. There was half a sandwich in my backpack." Alexander reached for his phone, ready to call the authorities, when something stopped him. The look on Sophia's face when she saw the phone, it wasn't fear, it was resignation. As if she already knew exactly what would happen next and was just waiting for the inevitable. "You've been through this before," he stated, not as a question. Sophia nodded. "Social services. Temporary shelter. New home. New school. Until my mother finds me again." She recited the words as if she knew the procedure well. Alexander wasn't known for his kindness. In fact, his reputation in business circles was quite the opposite: ruthless, calculating, a born predator in the business world. He built his empire by buying undervalued properties and turning them into luxury condominiums, without caring about the families evicted in the process. "Business is business," he used to say. But something about the quiet dignity of this child struck him in a way that no shareholder meeting or negative headline ever had. "Come," he said finally, holding out his hand. "It's too cold to stand here." On the way to his car, a BMW 7 Series, Alexander noticed that Sophia was limping slightly. No one had ever noticed it before. "My leg hurts sometimes," she explained, catching his eye. "It was an accident." "What kind of accident?" She looked away. "The kind that happens when you're in the wrong place at the wrong time." At the nearest 24-hour restaurant, Alexander watched silently as Sophia ate carefully, as if memorizing every bite, saving the sensation for future days without food. He asked more questions, about her school, about her mother, about where they used to live. The answers came slowly, like pieces of a puzzle being reluctantly handed over. Lisa Jackson, Sophia's mother, worked as a cleaning lady at various locations. They had been evicted from their apartment when the building was sold to a real estate developer. The same developer that had recently acquired several blocks in the South Side for a new luxury development. Reed Enterprises. Alexander felt a lump form in his throat. "Where is her mother now?" he asked, dreading the answer. "Looking for work in another city," Sophia replied, her eyes fixed on Alexander with a disconcerting intensity. "She promised she'd come back as soon as she found something stable." Alexander Reed, who had never felt remorse when signing eviction orders, suddenly saw the human cost of his business before him, personified in an 8-year-old girl sleeping on a slide because his company had destroyed the only home she had ever known. If this story of social injustice and the possibility of redemption has piqued your curiosity, be sure to subscribe to the channel to find out how a chance encounter at an empty playground can profoundly transform not only the life of a little girl, but also the hardened heart of a man who believed that success and compassion were mutually exclusive concepts. Surrounded by monitors displaying record profits, Alexander stared out the window of his corporate penthouse. The image of Sophia sleeping on a slide refused to leave his mind. After dropping her off at a decent hotel with a social worker who promised temporary discretion, he now obsessively investigated the evictions his company had carried out in the South Side. "Mr. Reed, I found the file you asked for," Rebecca announced, placing a folder on the desk. Alexander opened it, examining each property acquired in the last year. His eyes fixed on one address, 143 Maple Avenue, Sophia's former address. "Call Victor Hamilton. Now." When the lawyer arrived, his usual confidence faltered at Alexander's grim expression. "Explain to me exactly what happened to the tenants of the Maple complex," Alexander demanded, pushing the file toward Victor. "Standard procedure. Notifications, minimal compensation," Victor replied uncomfortably. "And for those who refused to leave?" The lawyer adjusted his tie. "Other methods of persuasion. Strategic power outages, plumbing problems, standard market techniques." "Like this particular family?" Alexander pointed to Lisa Jackson's name. "Ah, her," Victor consulted his notes. "Single mother, cleaning lady. Priority removal due to location. Greg increased the pressure on her. When we found out she had a daughter, we took advantage of that to speed up the process. Children are their weak point." Alexander restrained his anger. "Weak point. Troublesome tenants who don't understand urban progress," Victor added dismissively. The next day, Alexander parked discreetly in front of West Side School, where Sophia had been temporarily enrolled. During recess, he watched her sitting alone, reading a book, occasionally glancing at the gate as if waiting for someone. "She's always like this," said a voice beside him. "Observant. Quiet. More mature than many adults." Alexander turned to a middle-aged African-American woman wearing a school badge. "Diana Carter, guidance counselor. And you must be Mr. Reed." "How do you know who I am?" "Everyone in this neighborhood knows Alexander Reed, the man whose companies are tearing down our homes. I came to see how Sophia is doing." "Why? Feeling guilty?" "Yes," he replied simply. "I want to help her." Diana studied him at length. Lisa Jackson worked 3 jobs to keep that apartment. When she contested the eviction, the coincidences began. What coincidences? Leaks. Plumbing problems. And when she went to confront the manager, she came home to find Sophia injured. She had fallen and cut her forehead during an emergency inspection. Alexander clenched his fists. "Go on." "Lisa lost her job while Sophia was in the hospital. Then she lost her second job for being late. The bus line that served her neighborhood was mysteriously shut down during the revitalization promoted by Reed Enterprises." "And where is Lisa now?" "She left Sophia at the park while she went to an interview in Hampton. When she returned, the park was surrounded by police. Someone had reported suspicious activity. She fled, fearing she would lose custody if they found her alone." That night, Alexander reviewed documents that revealed a devastating pattern. Hundreds of families had been evicted to make way for luxury condominiums that often remained half-empty. His phone rang. It was Victor. "Alex, we need to talk about Lisa Jackson. Greg is worried she's going to cause trouble. He has contacts in social services who can speed up the process of putting her up for adoption." Alexander felt his blood run cold. "Victor, if anyone from my company goes near that child or her mother again, I will personally ensure that they spend the rest of their lives in prison." After hanging up, he immediately made another call. "Diana? It's Alexander Reed. We need to talk. I think I know how to find Lisa Jackson." 3 days later, in a restaurant in Hampton, Alexander waited nervously. Diana entered, accompanied by a woman wearing a cleaning uniform. "Mr. Reed, this is Lisa Jackson." Lisa's eyes, identical to Sophia's, hardened when she recognized him. "What does this mean? Where is my daughter?" Sophia is safe at school, Alexander assured her. I have a proposal that will change your life and Sophia's. Because for the first time, I realize how much my greed has destroyed real lives. Lisa studied him suspiciously, but her eyes reflected the same dignity Alexander had seen in Sophia. Please, he said softly. Let me fix what I've destroyed. What Alexander didn't know was that his partner Gregory Peterson, responsible for the priority evictions, was already in motion, determined to eliminate any threat before Alexander made any emotional decisions that would affect profits. Meanwhile, in her temporary hotel, Sophia carefully drew her mother and herself with a house in the background, not the one they had lost, but one she dreamed of. In the corner of the sheet, almost as an afterthought, she included a tall figure with a dog. Some wounds begin to heal before we even realize that healing is underway. The Reed Enterprises conference hall was packed with journalists, shareholders, and curious employees. Gregory Peterson adjusted his tie with a confident smile. As Alexander's majority partner, he had called this emergency meeting to discuss the stability of the company, a fancy euphemism for the corporate coup he was about to execute. Ladies and gentlemen, Gregory began, his voice brimming with false concern, unfortunately, we need to discuss Alexander Reed's recent emotional instability. Murmurs rippled through the room. Alexander was mysteriously absent, giving Gregory the perfect opportunity. Over the past few weeks, Alexander has been making impulsive decisions that threaten the value of our stock. He has cancelled 3 lucrative projects and is reopening eviction cases that have already been settled. Gregory displayed graphs predicting a drop in profits. All because of a street kid he found. The back door opened silently. No one noticed Alexander entering, accompanied by Diana Carter, Lisa Jackson, and a man carrying a briefcase. As the board of directors, it is our responsibility to protect this company, Gregory continued, displaying a document on the screen. I have here a psychological evaluation suggesting that Alexander is going through a midlife crisis that compromises his judgment. I propose a temporary leave of absence while he seeks treatment. Alexander finished, his voice cutting through the air like a razor. Gregory froze, his face visibly draining of color. Please continue, Greg. Alexander walked down the center aisle. Explain to everyone how I became emotionally unstable upon discovering that our company systematically destroys lives to maximize profits. Gregory regained his composure. Alex, we're concerned about you. This fixation on a single family. It's not a single family, Alexander interrupted, grabbing the presentation remote. Mr. Alvarez, would you share what you found? The man with the briefcase connected his laptop to the system. After 3 weeks of forensic investigation into Reed Enterprises operations, I have documented 342 cases of illegal eviction tactics over the past 5 years. The screen displayed meticulously organized documents, emails, and recordings. Intimidation. The investigator clicked on an audio file. Gregory's voice rang out loud and clear. Make them understand that accidents happen when people don't cooperate. Falsification of safety inspections. Photos of doctored reports appeared. Bribery of public officials. Bank transfers filled the screen. Each revelation elicited more horrified gasps from the room. Journalists typed frantically. Gregory tried to regain control. This is ridiculous. These documents are doctored. We sent copies to the Department of Justice this morning, Alexander said calmly. As well as to the Securities and Exchange Commission, since you and Victor diverted shareholder funds to finance these operations. Gregory's face alternated between pale and red. You're going down with us. You approved everything. Yes, I did, Alexander admitted, surprising everyone with his candor. And I will take responsibility. But unlike you, I am trying to correct my mistakes. Alexander motioned for Lisa to come forward. This is Lisa Jackson, one of the hundreds of people we evicted from their homes using illegal methods. Her daughter Sophia slept on a playground because of our actions. Lisa faced the room with dignity. I worked my entire life to give my daughter a safe home. Not only did you take our apartment, but you actively sabotaged my attempts to find work and housing. Alexander pointed to the screen, where images appeared of a development unlike anything Reed Enterprises had ever built. This is Project Renewal. We are converting 3 of our luxury developments into affordable housing, with priority given to families evicted by our previous practices. Outraged cries came from the shareholders. The profits will be smaller, Alexander acknowledged, but sustainable. And legal. Gregory laughed bitterly. You think he cares about that girl? About any of you? This is Alexander Reed. He demolished entire communities to build empty condominiums. This is just a show to get rid of the guilt. Diana stepped forward. Or maybe it's someone's first genuine step in acknowledging his mistake. As an educator, I see it often. Change begins when we stop denying our responsibility. Gregory lunged toward Alexander, finger pointed. You're not going to throw me to the wolves to save your reputation. I'm not saving my reputation, Greg. I'm saving my soul. Alexander turned to the shareholders. The choice is yours. We continue as before and face lawsuits and criminal investigations, or we change our model to rebuild trust and legality. At that moment, the doors opened again. Sophia entered timidly, holding her drawing. Her eyes first met her mother's, then Alexander's. She is the face of the people we've hurt, Alexander said softly. And she has more courage and integrity than all of us in this room combined. Gregory, realizing he had lost, tried his last card. You'll regret this, Alex. You don't know what you're doing. Alexander smiled for the first time. Actually, for the first time in many years, I know exactly what I'm doing. As security escorted Gregory out, Alexander knelt in front of Sophia. Thank you, he whispered. For what? She asked. For showing me that there's always time to do the right thing. At the back of the room, a reporter captured the moment when the feared real estate shark had tears in his eyes as a little girl handed him a simple drawing, a silent lesson that true wealth cannot be measured by property or bank accounts, but by the ability to recognize the humanity we share, even when discovered in the most unexpected places and under the most humble circumstances. 6 months have passed since the day that became known as the Great Awakening at Reed Enterprises. What began as a corporate confrontation turned into a movement that reverberated throughout the national real estate industry. The company's stock initially fell, but then stabilized at a new level, lower but more sustainable. Alexander walked through what would once have been just another inaccessible luxury condominium. Now, Oakwood Gardens complex was home to a balanced mix of families from different social classes. A modern playground occupied the center of the grounds, with children of all colors playing together, their laughter echoing between the renovated buildings. It's amazing what 6 months can do, Diana commented, walking beside him. As the new director of the Reed Foundation for Fair Housing, she oversaw the transformation of properties into affordable housing. It wasn't easy to convince the shareholders, Alexander admitted. Many still think I've gone mad. Going crazy would be to continue as before, Diana replied. That was collective insanity disguised as business. Alexander smiled as he watched a group of children. Among them, Sophia was teaching a clapping game to 2 younger girls. Her hair was now decorated with colorful beads, and most importantly, her face wore the carefree expression that every child deserves to have. In the community area, Lisa Jackson, now manager of the foundation's job training program, was advising a group of residents about employment opportunities. Her voice was brimming with confidence, no trace of the exhausted, desperate woman from months ago. The Phase 2 apartments will be ready next week, Lisa informed Alexander when she saw him. We already have 15 families confirmed from your old complex on the east side. As they talked, a limousine pulled up at the entrance to the complex. Gregory Peterson, handcuffed and escorted by 2 federal agents, was led away for a court-ordered visit before his final hearing. Is this the result of your work, Alex? Gregory asked bitterly, watching the happy families around him. Turning luxury developments into subsidized housing? We built an empire. We built it on suffering, Alexander replied calmly. The difference is that now I can sleep at night. Gregory's eyes widened as he recognized Lisa and Sophia approaching. Is this because of them? You threw everything away because of a cleaning lady and her daughter. No, Greg. It was because of me. Because I discovered what kind of man I wanted to be. Alexander placed his hand on Sophia's shoulder. And because I learned that true success isn't measured in dollars. After the agents took Gregory away, Lisa approached Alexander. Are the investigations still moving forward? Alexander nodded. 32 families have already received compensation for the illegal evictions. Another 170 cases are being reviewed. And you? Have the charges against you been reduced, but not dropped? Alexander added. I cooperated fully. My sentence will likely be community service and fines. Nothing compared to what Greg faces for obstruction of justice and tampering with evidence. Later, at the opening of the Sophia Jackson Community Center, a crowd gathered to celebrate. The center would offer everything from legal aid to job training for vulnerable families. Sophia, dressed in a bright yellow dress, cut the ribbon alongside Alexander. Photographers captured the moment, the once ruthless real estate mogul smiling alongside a little girl who had inadvertently sparked a revolution. You know what I like best about all this? Sophia asked as they walked through the center. What? No one else will have to sleep on a slide. That night, after the celebrations, Alexander sat on the park bench, the same one where it had all begun. The old slide had been replaced by modern equipment, part of his initiative to revitalize public spaces in low-income neighborhoods. Lisa found him there, contemplative under the starry sky. I thought you'd be celebrating with your new business partners. I needed a moment to reflect, he replied, making room for her to sit down. You know, before that night, I thought success meant accumulating more than we need at the expense of those who have less than they deserve. Lisa watched his profile in the dim park light. And now I know that true wealth lies in how our actions affect others. Alexander turned to her. When I found Sophia, I hoped to save a child. I didn't realize I was being saved. Maximus, the German shepherd who had first approached Sophia on that fateful night, appeared trotting across the lawn, followed by Sophia herself in her pajamas, apparently having escaped her babysitter. You should see the playground at night, she declared, sitting down between them. It's much cooler when it's empty. Alexander laughed, a genuine sound that was becoming more and more frequent. Some lessons require special teachers, he said, exchanging a meaningful glance with Lisa. As the makeshift little family gazed up at the night sky together, Alexander reflected on how sometimes we need to lose everything we thought we wanted to discover what really matters. A little black girl sleeping on a playground had taught him more about humanity, justice, and purpose than decades of building an empire. If this story touched your heart, be sure to subscribe to the channel for more stories that show how unlikely encounters can spark profound transformations, and how our most vulnerable moments often open doors to our greatest redemptions.